Good evening. Today is July 21st, and this is Kingdom News. My name is Russell Sarup, and here are the headlines for today. In China, churches shuttered turned into cultural centers promoting socialist values. United Kingdom coronavirus vaccine prompts immune response in early test. Dead suspect may be linked to killing of son of federal judge overseeing Jeffrey Epstein-related case. Now for the news in detail. In China, churches shuttered turned into cultural centers promoting socialist values. As part of China's ongoing crackdown on Christianity, communist authorities have converted a number of state-approved 3 self-churches into cultural centers promoting President Xi Jinping socialist values. Persecution watchdog China Aid reports that recently Flowing Stream Church in Funing County's Yangzai Township in Jiangsu province was forcibly occupied by officials with China's Communist Party and converted to Yangzai Township Flowing Stream Village Cultural Service Center. The church had previously been disbanded by the local United Front Department and was accused of occupying village's cultural base. A local villager told China Aid that now the building is used to promote President Xi's core socialist values and spread positive energy instead of the gospel. Another church in the vicinity, Beizhuzhang Church, was converted to Beizhuzhang Cultural Compound after the members voluntarily donated the venue for the village, according to the government. The church was also first disbanded last October for not having the right registration. China, an officially atheist country, has also been accused of engaging in human rights crimes against the religious minority groups, including Uyghur Muslims, Falun Gong practitioners, and Tibetan Buddhists. Last year, United States Ambassador at Large for International Religious Freedom, Sam Brownback, said during a trip to Hong Kong that the CCP is at war with faith. It's a war they will not win, Brownback declared, according to reports. The Chinese Communist Party must hear the cry of its people for religious freedom. Trump is using us. TV ads pressure Christians as GOP group spends millions in 2020. Republican voters against Trump, a political initiative affiliated with anti-Trump conservatives like Bill Kristol and former Jeb Bush aide Tim Miller, is running digital and television advertisements featuring testimonials from Republican voters about why they cannot bring themselves to vote for Trump in the upcoming election. This commercial is aimed at Christian conservatives, a major voting bloc for Trump in 2020, as he campaigned on promises to promote pro-life policies, protect religious freedom, and appoint conservative judges. The advertisement shows another self-proclaimed Republican voter saying that as Christians, we should love our neighbor as ourselves. The commercial then jumps to a clip highlighting how Trump once retweeted a video that, among other things, showed a man chanting "white power." Another Republican, identified as Pat, said in the advertisement that he dislikes how Trump used force to bludgeon and gas protesters at Lafayette Park in Washington, D.C. on June 1st, so that he could take photographs in front of a church while posing with a Bible. President Trump is the leader of the United Republican Party, where he has earned 94% of Republican votes during the primaries, something any former president of any party could only dream of. Trump campaign spokesperson Erin Perrine said in a statement to The Hill last week. 4 things to know about weekend riots in Seattle, Portland. Violence and looting interrupted multiple peaceful protests in the Pacific Northwest this past weekend, forcing police departments to declare the events riots. Danger was widespread as the riots broke out in Seattle, Washington, and Portland, Oregon, just weeks after Seattle was in the national spotlight thanks to the events surrounding the occupied Capitol Hill organized protest zone in which 2 deadly shootings took place. Police precincts, federal buildings, and businesses were damaged in both Seattle and Portland, and demonstrators moved through the streets. The amount of activity in the Pacific Northwest has been extensive, but here are 4 things to know about these events. 1. What happened in Seattle? According to Seattle police, peaceful protests began early in the morning Sunday, but turned violent hours later. The group of demonstrators broke windows out of buildings, tagged them with paint, and then looted the buildings. The police department's report said that the fire was started inside of a business that had broken into and was looted. 1 police precinct had its windows smashed out and a firework was then set off. This caused a small fire. What happened in Portland? Federal and police buildings appeared to be targeted in Portland as well. Upon arrival to work Sunday morning, police officers were welcomed with taunts and demonstrators damaging patrol cars and fences. How did the authorities respond? No tear gas or lethal emissions were used by police in Seattle, according to the police department spokesperson. But federal agents have received criticism from the use of tear gas outside the federal courthouse in Portland. How did government officials respond? Washington Governor Jay Inslee ordered all gatherings of 10 people or more to end last Friday. The order is in response to COVID-19 pandemic, but the governor has not specifically mentioned anything about the weekend's riots or police presence. Church gives away 2 cars, 100,000 pounds of food in relief effort. As many households across America continue to struggle with food and job insecurity, I-5 City Church in Glen Burnie, Maryland, partnered with Joyce Meyer Ministries in Missouri and several others over the weekend to distribute some 100 pounds of food and 2 new cars to community members in need. We have so many people in need and that are feeling hopeless and lonely, then what better way to get people together than to serve the community? I-5 City Church pastor Jimmy Rollins told the Capital Gazette at his church Sunday, where scores of volunteers had come to help distribute food from the church's parking lot. The church, which describes itself as a group of people crazy enough to believe we can change the world, draws its mission from Matthew 25:34-36. The economic victims of this pandemic are our neighbors whose incomes barely cover monthly expenses, he told the Capital Gazette. I am proud of the way that our public servants and our community leaders have stepped up to build a safety net, particularly through food distribution. Tennessee church members die of COVID-19, horrendous virus attacked. A Tennessee church that shuttered last month after suffering an outbreak of COVID-19 announced the loss of 2 senior members to the virus, but said they are also experiencing miracles in the pandemic too. We have lost 2 wonderful, vulnerable seniors who were with us on Father's Day, and that's tough. This horrendous virus attacked, and we lost Brother Frank Cunningham, as well as Dr. Jimmy Bilbo. Kelvin Page, pastor of Westmore Church of God in Cleveland, Tennessee, said in a video announcement on Facebook last weekend. Cunningham, who died on July 9th, was 73, and Bilbo, who passed a day later on July 10th, was 89. Both men were remembered as exemplary Christians. Frank was a faithful member of Westmore Church of God. He loved singing in the choir and was involved with the senior center as a volunteer. In the community, he was a beloved son, brother, father, uncle, and friend, Cunningham's obituary says. Dr. Bilbo always struck me as the perfect Christian gentleman. He was always so kind and gracious. Dr. Bilbo dedicated his life to teaching and mentoring his beloved students at Lee University. His legacy lives on through their vocations and ministries. He will be missed, wrote Bill and Linnea Simmons in a statement on Bilbo's passing. He said that even though the church had been taking precautions such as social distancing, they should have taken masks more seriously. On Sunday, during his online sermon, Page expressed how he has been tortured in recent days on how to celebrate good news coming out of his church in the light of the pain that has resulted from the pandemic in his church. It feels like I might not know how to do that, he said, noting that the Bible encourages the church to suffer together to heal. United Kingdom corona vaccine prompts immune response in early test. Scientists at Oxford University say their experimental coronavirus vaccine has been shown in an early trial to prompt a protective immune response in hundreds of people who got the shot. British researchers first began testing the vaccine in April in about 1,000 people, half of whom got the experimental vaccine. Such early trials are designed to evaluate safety and see what kind of immune response was provoked, but can't tell if the vaccine truly protects. In research published Monday in the journal Lancet, scientists said that they found that experimental COVID-19 vaccine produced a dual immune response in people aged 18 to 55. That lasted at least 2 months after they were immunized. Hill said that neutralizing antibodies are produced, molecules which are key to blocking infection. In addition, the vaccine also caused a reaction in the body's T cells, which help by destroying cells that have been taken over by the virus. The experimental COVID-19 vaccine caused minor side effects like fever, chills, and muscle pain, more often than in those who got a controlled meningitis vaccine. Hill said that larger trials evaluating the vaccine's effectiveness, involving about 10,000 people in the United Kingdom, as well as participants in South Africa and Brazil, are still underway. Another trial is slated to start in the United States soon, aiming to enroll about 30,000 people. The vaccine being developed by Pfizer also works to trigger a small dual immune response as the Oxford shot. Pfizer and its German partner BioNTech also released an encouraging early report Monday. Nearly 24 potential vaccines are in various stages of human testing worldwide, with a handful entering necessary late-stage testing to prove effectiveness. It's like hell, sentenced to life in prison for minor drug offenses under 3 strikes laws. Right now, an estimated 80 inmates are serving mandatory life sentences because of federal 3 strikes drug law. It's really like hell, like how they describe hell. Nobody can hear you screaming. That's really how it is. You hear people screaming all night, and that's all I used to think about. We're in hell, said Herman Tate. He was sentenced to life at the age of 28 for a low-level, non-violent drug offense. The law says Congress got together and passed a law to make sure the intent was to make sure that similarly dangerous repeat drug offenders received similarly serious sentences. So you want people who are similarly dangerous to get similar sentences, explained attorney Mee Angel Cody, director of Decarceration Collective. Tate's first strike came in 1992 for selling half of a gram of crack. He was sentenced to 6 months probation. The Decarceration Collective teamed up with Buried Alive Project to produce a documentary sharing the stories of men and women they've saved, but all those still serving life sentences under the 3 strikes law. Its release date is still to be determined. Potential breakthrough for financial help for American businesses during pandemic. President Donald Trump met with Republican leadership to discuss the next COVID-19 relief package. Kids in school, jobs, and healthcare is the theme of the proposal, said the Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell. For those small businesses, we want to make sure you can stay open, said House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy. It's a key priority as the debate over more relief legislation coincides with a coronavirus surge across the country. Data shows there are 3.9 million confirmed cases of the virus and more than 140,000 Americans have died. This is a worldwide problem caused by China. Countries are going through hell, says Trump. In a desperate attempt to slow the spread, Surgeon General Dr. Jerome Adams took to Twitter with a public plea. The cases that we don't know then will have a final result on how well the vaccine works, says Adrian Hill, lead researcher at Oxford Vaccine Group. It's likely to be months rather than weeks. We said before, aiming for September to October time. I still think that that's a realistic aspiration, but we can't be certain. President Trump also announces plans to bring back the daily coronavirus briefings, with the next one probably starting Tuesday at 5 p.m. Spiritual pandemic of hope grips Iran as thousands accept Jesus Christ amidst COVID-19. Iran is facing a wave of internal turmoil and covert attacks that are undermining the radical regime's nefarious plans. Even as the violence escalates, hope is rising among Iranian citizens who are finding salvation in Jesus Christ. Whether it is the exploding coronavirus, mysterious fires at nuclear and military facilities, or protests, Iran's ruling Islamic clerics are facing unprecedented challenges as the regime tries to maintain an iron grip on the nation. In the latest military incident, Israel struck an Iranian-backed weapons facility and military positions in Syria today. The missile strike south of Damascus reportedly killed 5 Iranian fighters and injured a dozen others. All this comes against the backdrop of ongoing government protests and a remarkable revival that witnessing thousands of Muslims turning to Christianity in the midst of COVID-19. That's why we are calling this a pandemic of hope, said Mike Ansari, who runs Mohabbat TV, one of the most popular Christian satellite channels in Iran. Ansari told CBN News that Mohabbat TV is recording 10 times more online salvations than this time last year. Iran is one of the world's most dangerous places for Christians, yet Christianity is growing faster in Iran than any other country in the world. The Netherlands admit to paying salaries of men linked to terror attack that killed Israeli teen. The Netherlands admitted Tuesday to paying the salaries of 2 men suspected of killing 17-year-old Jewish teen Rina Schnurr in a terror attack last year. the Jerusalem Post reports. According to NGO monitor Samir Abed, the alleged leader of the terror cell that killed Schnurd worked as an accountant for UAWC up until the time of his arrest last year. The other suspect, Abdul Razak Farajaj, was reportedly UAWC's Finance and Administration Director. Abid was indicted on 21 charges related to Schnurd's murder, and Faraj was indicted on 4 counts. The Netherlands says it is suspending its donations to UAWC pending an investigation. Because careful action is so important in this regard, I have decided to commission external research into any ties between PFLP and UAWC. The minister wrote, "The cabinet wants to independently determine whether and how continuation of the contributions is appropriate." Schnurd was killed on August 23, 2019, in a bombing attack at a spring near the Dulov community. Her father and rabbi were injured in the attack. Harvest Bible Chapel founder James McDonald faces foreclosure on $1.6 million home. James McDonald, controversial founder of Harvest Bible Chapel in Greater Chicago, is now in danger of losing his custom-built home in Elgin, Illinois, for failing to pay his mortgage with the Republic Bank of Chicago, according to a new lawsuit. McDonald, according to the Daily Herald report, owes the Republic Bank of Chicago $947,546 on the 5-bedroom, 5.5-bathroom home that sits on 10 acres along Highland Avenue. The Harvest Bible Chapel founder, who was out from the helm of the church in February 2019 for highly inappropriate recorded comments he made on a radio program, as well as other conduct, allegedly borrowed $990,000 from Republic Bank of Chicago to purchase the home in 2016. Since last December, McDonald hasn't made a mortgage payment, the bank argues, and now owes $925,902 on the loan and $20,669 in unpaid interest, as well as $974 in late charges. McDonald LLC, Vanilla Bean, is also named as a defendant in the foreclosure lawsuit filed last week in Kane County. Texas pastor, father of 4, killed while helping another driver. He faithfully proclaimed Christ. Russell Moore and other prominent Christian figures expressed heartbreak after John Powell, a Christian planter and pastor, was killed in a highway accident as he was helping a driver who stopped in the traffic lanes. On Sunday, Moore, president of the Southern Baptist Convention's Ethics and Religious Liberty Commission, shared the news of Powell's death on social media. "I am shocked and shaken and grieving this morning. Beyond what I can say," Moore wrote on Twitter. "My former student, John Powell, was killed last night, hit by an 18-wheeler while helping stranded motorists off the highway." According to a local news report, Powell, senior pastor of Emmanuel Baptist Church in New Kearney, Texas, and another man stopped to help a truck that had been rear-ended by another car and caught fire around 11:30 p.m. Saturday night. While the men were assisting the truck, a semi-truck came toward them on the highway. According to the police, Powell saw the semi-truck approaching and pushed the other man out of the way to save him. Powell was struck and killed. The driver of the car that caught fire was taken to the hospital and is expected to survive. Moore remembered Powell as sweet-tempered, humble, and absolutely devoted to his wife, Catherine, and their 4 young children. He was everything I would want any of my sons to be when they grew up, Moore wrote. According to his ERLC bio, Powell moved to New Caney north of Houston from Hamlin, Texas in 2016 and had previously been director of admissions at Southern Seminary and discipleship's pastor at Carlisle Avenue Baptist Church in Louisville, Kentucky. Kanye West says COVID-19 vaccine is mark of the beast. Hank Hanegraaff responds. Hank Hanegraaff is also known as the Bible Answer Man, weighed in on whether or not COVID-19 vaccine could be the mark of the beast as referenced in Revelation 13:18 in response to comments made by Kanye West. In a July 15 episode of his Bible Answer Man broadcast, Hanegraaff shared his thoughts on the issue after West told Forbes magazine he was extremely cautious about the idea of a corona vaccination. It's so many of our children that are being vaccinated and paralyzed. So when they say the way we're going to fix COVID is with a vaccine, I am extremely cautious, West said. That's the mark of the beast. They want to put chips inside of us. They want to do all kinds of things. They want it where they can't cross, where we can't cross the gates of heaven. I'm sorry when I say they, the humans that have the devil inside them. And the saddest thing is that we all won't make it to heaven, that there'll be some of us that do not make it. In his podcast, Hanegraaff warned the West's interpretation of scripture is as misleading as it is dangerous and complete indefensible. I say this because biblically the mark of the beast is a symbolic, as quite obvious, a parody of the mark of the lamb, he stressed. Biblical interpretation matters. If we interpret the Bible incorrectly, we'll think the Bible is a bunch of nonsense. The mark in Revelation 13 symbolizes identity with the beast, as such, identifying with Satan's kingdom is what will keep you out of heaven, not getting vaccinated, says Hanegraaff. As Kanye West must surely know, the forehead and the hands of people are Old Testament symbols of their beliefs and behavior. Hanegraaff pointed out that in Exodus 13, eating unleavened bread is likened to a sign on the other hand and a reminder on the forehead of the children of Israel. And thus, the mark of the beast in Revelation is securely tethered to the scripture. Kanye West's interpretation of the mark of the beast as vaccination or silicone or microchip is tenuous, tether to thin air, he added. The multitudes who follow West should know taking on the mark of the beast is the intentional denial in thought, in word, in deed of the Lordship of Jesus Christ. Lack of commerce, contamination fears create coin shortage. A nationwide coin shortage is causing stores across the country to push card payments instead of cash transaction amid the coronavirus pandemic as the United States government is taking steps to meet the increased demand. American consumers may have noticed signs in their local grocery stores or Walmarts suggesting they use card payments instead of cash. Traditionally, retail stores do not promote card transactions because of the cost stores face each time a consumer swipes a card. But the new trend is thanks to the coin shortage acknowledged by the United States Mint that is attributed to a lack of commerce and coin production. In a statement to the Christian Post, the United States Mint said that it has been at full production capacity since mid-June, but took early precautions with production to maintain a safe workplace for Mint employees. The Mint acted quickly and decisively during the early phases of the COVID-19 public health crisis to implement measures to mitigate the risk of employee exposure to COVID-19, read the statement. Throughout the public health challenge, the Mint has continued to meet its essential mission of manufacturing coins to facilitate national commerce. However, a large factor in the shortage may be the lack of retail activity. According to the Mint, 83% of circulating coins come from commerce activity and only 17% come from the Mint. The demand for coins has seen a giant increase as cash transactions have slowed during the pandemic. In June, the Mint produced almost 1.9 billion coins. This equates to an annualized production level of 19.8 billion circulating coins. The Mint explained, for comparison, the Mint produced 12.4 billion circulating coins in 2019. Catholic Church to triple compensation paid towards survivor of abuse by priest son of J.R.R. Tolkien. A person who was abused by a Catholic priest who was the son of famed author J.R.R. Tolkien will be getting triple the compensation from the Catholic Church, according to the report by The Telegraph. The Catholic Church Archdiocese of Birmingham opted to reopen previous settlements a year after being criticized by the Independent Inquiry into Child Sexual Abuse for their handling of cases. The unnamed victim was originally awarded £5,000, approximately 6,300 US dollars. This amount will be tripled to approximately 19,000. Richard Scorer, lawyer at Slater and Gordon, has 25 years of experience with abuse cases involving the Catholic Church repatriation for victims. Scorer told The Telegraph on Sunday that the decision to triple the compensation was the first time in his experience that an archdiocese has agreed to increase the reparation after a settlement was reached. It is unprecedented, he explained. They have held their hands up and recognized their conduct was wrong. It may well pave the way for other survivors to seek further compensation. There are approximately 750 survivors of sexual abuse by Catholic priests in England and in Wales who have been compensated in their settlements, which are all triple. The total would be around £22 million, according to The Telegraph. The son of the man behind the famous epic fantasy book series, The Lord of the Rings, Father John Tolkien, was accused of sexual abuse in 1994 and later in 2001. Father Tolkien died in January 2003. Later that year, the Archdiocese of Birmingham awarded an accuser named Christopher Carey £15,000 in compensation as part of a settlement. Prager University kicks off Back the Blue campaign supporting national law enforcement officers. Prager University, a non-profit organization that promotes awareness on critical issues happening in America, has launched a national campaign to show support for law enforcement officers. The objective of Back the Blue is to share messages that advocate for the men and women who risk their lives to protect and serve the public. The initiative is scheduled for July 20th to 24th, and the people can become involved online and or offline. Online participants can post encouraging videos and photos recognizing how critical it is to have law enforcement officers to keep our society safe. Posts should include hashtag #BackTheBlue, hashtag #DefendThePolice, and @PragerU, or supporters can tag their local police and sheriff department. Pastor stabbed, Virginia police chief injured while taking down attacker. A police chief in Virginia was injured on Saturday during an attack against pastor while a Bible study group met at a church. Police Chief Ed Rosler and another person who was attending the class jumped into action after a man with a knife walked into the Grace Covenant Church in Fairfax County, WRC-TV reports. After barging into the sanctuary, the suspect stabbed the pastor who was leading the group. Rosler and another person restrained the suspect until the police arrived at the scene. 2 victims were treated for bumps and bruises and other non-life-threatening injuries. Iranian-backed fighters killed in Syria during alleged Israeli air raid. Israel is credited with carrying out several overnight airstrikes against Iranian targets in Syria, injuring 7 Syrian soldiers and killing at least 5 Iranian-backed military men, according to local reports. The London-based Syrian Observatory for Human Rights, which monitors the country's civil war, reported Israeli air raids close to Damascus airport and near the southern city of Dara, beginning around 10 p.m. At least 6 Israeli missiles hit several positions belonging to regime forces and pro-Iran militias south of Damascus. Observatory head Rami Abdul Rahman told AFP. An unnamed official quoted by Syrian state media reported that the Israeli raids only caused material damage and air defenses downed most of the missiles. According to Ynet News, Syrian military defectors said the attack targeted an Iranian-controlled ammunition depot in Jabal al-Main near the Syrian town of Kiswa, where Iranian Revolutionary Guards are stationed. The aid raids also targeted Mokobaya and Zakia towns near Kiswa, where the Iranian-backed Hezbollah terror group is deployed with other pro-terror militias. Trump says mail-in voting will rig November election, won't say if he'll accept results. President Trump opened up Friday in a broad-ranging interview with Fox News' Chris Wallace. During the 40-minute conversation, Trump said recent statistics regarding U.S. COVID-19 deaths are misleading, criticized Democratic opponent Joe Biden, and expressed deep concerns about mail-in voting, which Democrats have pushed as a response to the COVID-19 pandemic. The president pushed back against critics of his handling of the coronavirus pandemic, saying, "I think we have one of the lowest mortality rates in the world," arguing against statistics Wallace presented from Johns Hopkins University that ranked the United States as 7th in the world in overall deaths from COVID-19. He offered a sheet of White House statistics that, Wallace said, show the U.S. rated ahead of Spain and Italy, but worse than Brazil and South Korea. Later in the 40-minute interview, Trump warned against presumptive Democratic nominee Joe Biden plans for the United States. "Biden wants to come in and ruin our country. Triple your taxes," Trump said. "He will destroy this country, but it won't be him. It will be the radical left, the same type of ideology that took over Venezuela, one of the richest countries in the world. They now have no water, they have no food, and they have no medicine," Trump said, adding, "If voters elect Biden, that's going to happen here." When asked if he would accept a potential loss, Trump responded with his concerns about mail-in voting, saying it would rig the election. When Wallace pressed him about whether that meant he might not accept the election results, Trump responded, "I don't know. I have to see. I'll keep you in suspense. To a further question about accepting the results, Trump said, no, I am not going to just say yes. I am not going to say no. And I didn't last time either. Here's a recap of today's news. In China, churches shuttered turned into cultural centers promoting socialist values. United Kingdom coronavirus vaccine prompts immune response in early tests. Dead suspect may be linked to killing of son of a federal judge overseeing Jeffrey Epstein-related case. Today's news was reported by CBN, The Christian Post, and Charisma News. My name is Russell Sarup, and this is Kingdom News. Until next time, have a blessed evening.